And good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to another live Art Business Academy Xanadu Gallery online critique group session. Today is Wednesday, June 10th, 2020. It is great to be back here with you after another interesting week. It seems like each week is more interesting than the one before it. But I hope this is an opportunity to put all that aside and to spend some time thinking about and talking about art, enjoying some of each other's art, and talking a little bit about the business of art. Today's session, our featured artist is with us here from New York. And if I can, I'm going to unmute. Yeah, let me get Zaylee here. Do I have you in? Hold on just a second. There we go. I've got you. Good morning and welcome.
Oh, thank you. Good morning.
So it's we've had a variety of artists in the online critique sessions over the last several months. We're a couple months into this now. I think we've had 10 or 11 different sessions, and it's been fun to be able to have a wide variety of different styles and subject matters, artists with a variety of different backgrounds. And I think today is going to be no exception to that. And if we can, let's begin with a little bit of your story, your background, and how you came to art.
How to be? I always love art from my childhood. And I remember because my father is artist. So I growing up the art environment, art family, and so become a professional artist. It's always my dream. Yeah, since my childhood. Then after high school, I graduated high school, and I then went to some training, get some training, and I took audition, went to the art and design university in China. And
yes, I think that's important to point out. This is all happening. Your father is an artist in China. You grew up and trained in China.
Yeah, I'm in China. Yeah, training in China. And after I graduated, I went to the advertising company and doing as designer for like a lot of advertising work. It's a busy work. And then in 1998, I have another dream and want to come to America for the future. So I moved to New York in 1998 and pursue my dream. But first, when I came to New York, my job is doing web design. I didn't do oil painting, but in my heart, I still want to achieve this my dream in my but still no opportunity. And then from 2000, I set up my own business, my own company. I ran business for around 20 years until now. And raising
and
my
was
kids.
That in the art field or graphic design, or what was your business?
My business is trading business, different area. It's totally so because I doing import and export, and but design my own products. Yeah, and then after my kids they growing, I have more time. So 2017, I back to study. Went to the art student league of New York. Yeah, started oil painting. Yeah.
Okay, and so since then you've been devoting more time to creating your art. And talk about, and let me go ahead and pull up some images of your art so we can be looking at them. Talk about how you became interested in the style of work that you're doing and the subject matter.
Oh, the style. When I started training, the traditional training for the knowledge of around art and drawing. I got drawing, painting, something. I always inspire from Rembrandt, Sargent, and Rubens. That's my favorite
It's good company to
artist.
keep.
So, yeah, there's always I want to. I love a realistic style. It's a like a light, shadow, the movement and mystery. It's the drama, and also the brush stroke. Yeah.
And so, have you had the opportunity to show your work and display? And have you had some sales?
Yeah, I sell uh when I from start, because I my still life always good because I have a very good training in China. So my still life, a lot of people love it. So I sell a lot of still life.
And how do you sell
Yeah,
those? Do you do that work
I
online, or
do
do you have?
I do online selling. Yeah, I sell a lot. Yeah, from there, but mostly it's a small piece. If I feel my the big one, I feel love it, I keep it
No.
for the future. I just I sell the small piece. Sometimes big piece, but the sale, yeah, they sell worldwide, sell another country, sell some piece, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And
Mhm.
so, as we often start, and I'm not going to break our order now. The first discussion I want to have is about the consistency of the work. As we've mentioned many times in previous conversations, what we're looking for is a cohesiveness across the work that would allow it to show well together, that would encourage collectors to return to the work and acquire multiple pieces, and just to create a body of work that has a cohesiveness to it, that allows the marketing and building a business around the art to be more successful. And so, as we look through the work, I'd love to bring a few of you who are here in the video chat to comment on how you feel about the cohesiveness of the work that you are seeing. So if you want to volunteer by throwing a hand up or unmuting yourself and just give us some feedback, does the work feel cohesive? We see a variety of some subject matter, but does the work still tie together? And I've got, so hold on here. Let's get us up. I'm going to bring in Chris first. And Chris, I'm just going to get audio from you, not video. But Chris, how do you feel about the cohesiveness of the work that we're seeing?
It looks very much like the same artist. I don't have to wonder, if it's somebody different. And the shade and light are perfect. I I like the painterly quality. Um, it's photorealistic but painterly, if you can have such a thing, um, because I can tell that, like the substrates, the surfaces that they're on, um, that they kind of, the petals of the flowers and the fruit or whatever, kind of blend in and fade away into that, um, and but it's more what I like. I loved last week, but that was more like metaphysical, dream-like. This is more lifelike, and I can tell that the same artist painted painted all the body of work. And
Excellent.
I'd love to know how she sells it online, because my paintings, I have a lot of lifelike paintings, and my prices are much lower. But getting in touch with a gallery or whatever has just been, it's almost impossible right at this point.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Chris. And so we've got one vote definitely for consistency and an endorsement of the work. Talk a little bit, Zay, about how you sell online. Is that through social media? Are you doing some kind of advertising? How do people find out about your work online?
Oh, I sell from eBay
Oh, really?
and Etsy. It's Etsy, right?
Yes,
Etsy, and I have a online gallery. Yeah, I joined one online gallery.
Excellent. That is definitely one big challenge that a lot of us face is getting a following online and people to actually spend money buying art online. So that it's very interesting to hear that you've had success there. We're going to come back to that discussion in just a few minutes. Let me go to Kate. I think you also had a comment about consistency, Kate. Let's see if I can
get I feel like there's almost like two groups of paintings. The portraits are amazing. They are so strong.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're really, really good. I'm not as enthralled with the still lifes, but these are amazing. That to me, they're definitely a lot stronger. You minimize the background, so the portrait of the person is what's most important. They're really lovely. To me, they're a lot stronger than the still lives. So that's my comment.
Yeah, so interesting. And Zay, you mentioned that your still lives are your strongest sellers and the ones that seem to get the most attention.
Well, I think sometimes portraits are a little harder to sell. I think because they're a little more personal. So I can see why the landscapes, or not landscapes, the still lifes do really, really well.
And so I'm going to agree. And it's interesting. This is another good illustration of how we have two different subjects between the still lifes and the figurative portraiture work. And so you could say, well, there's, it's two very distinctly different subjects. So how can that be consistent? But again, because your style and your approach to the work are so strong and consistent, it allows you the latitude to move between different subjects. And I suspect that if you wanted to, you could even expand into doing some landscape paintings with the same kind of treatment and still have a consistency and cohesion to the work. Now let's talk a little bit then about kind of your approach to the style and the subject matter. It is a photorealistic style. And that's not something we've really treated or talked about or had an example of as much in previous sessions. So this kind of opens a new area. And it presents some unique opportunities for you in terms of marketing and selling your work. It's going to direct you to certain audiences and certain challenges. And it was interesting in the, and we'll get to some of the comments in just a few minutes, but several of the comments were, have you ever thought about loosening up and becoming more, more expressive in the work or moving towards impressionism? And I think that this is an interesting kind of conversation to have in a group like this, where we have a wide variety of artists with a variety of different backgrounds and interests. And what you start to see is maybe personal, I'm going to look for the right word here. I don't want to say biases, but just personal preferences coming to the fore. And we have to be a little bit careful about that because just as each of you as an artist is going to have your own unique interests and direction, I also find that there are collectors across the gamut of different interests in subject matter and style. And there is definitely still a very strong interest in the art collector market for what I would call traditional, photorealistic, classically styled artwork. You know, and as I have the opportunity to visit galleries, I can think of a couple of galleries on Main Street in Scottsdale near my gallery that do very, very well selling work in this style. That there is a buyer out there who is not interested in more contemporary approaches, is not interested in looser work. They want something that is very, very photorealistic or very traditional, and as you mentioned, maybe inspired by past masters, and are willing to pay quite handsomely to collect that kind of artwork. So you've heard me say it over and over again in these sessions and anywhere else I'm talking, and that is, it's always good to take input and to take suggestions from things that you're seeing from other artists giving you feedback. But you also want to make sure that you're staying true to what you're most excited about creating. And what I have found in my years in the art business is that collectors, you know, in most cases, especially when we're talking about artwork in the realm that most of us are dealing in, that is, we're living artists, we're selling for what I would consider moderate sums of money. You know, we're not selling for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. The equation changes a little bit when you get to those blue chip kind of sales. But in the work that we're doing, I found that if you're doing what you're excited about, what you're passionate about, that you will find an audience that will respond to that. And, you know, so what I would say is I would encourage you to just keep exploring and doing what you're doing. Now, I did want to talk a little bit about presentation, and this is, I think, a good segue to do that. We just got just a couple of quick snapshots of presentation, and I wanted you to talk, Zay, a little bit about this presentation. Is this fairly typical to how you are presenting the work, the gallery wrapped canvas with the edges painted?
Yeah. The online gallery, they ask me present like that. They don't like you know, using frame work, because most of their customer, they like their make or design their own frame. So
Yeah. So, okay, that's very interesting, and it makes some sense in an online marketplace.
yeah.
I would suspect that as you are interested in expanding your reach into bricks and mortar galleries, to showing your work in galleries with a physical location, you're going to find that those galleries that are going to carry work that's in your style, they're going to be interested in having the work framed. And likely they're going to be looking for a more traditional, perhaps more ornate frame to fit this style. Again, thinking about where the work is going to end up, we want to have a presentation that's going to fit very naturally into that kind of environment. And the unframed approach, while it can work, and I've seen artists who are doing traditional work present their work unframed, I would highly suspect that the work will sell better if the client doesn't have to think about the framing, if they can buy the whole package, as it were, where they have a completed work with a sophisticated, high quality frame that would ease the process of selling those.
Yeah, I agree. I very agree. I want, if you know, like I show local gallery something, then we need a high quality classical professional frame match my painting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I often get this question as a gallery owner. Well, framing it's a challenge finding the right frame. It's expensive often. That will be your single biggest expense. And it can be frustrating because you might choose one style of frame, and there are going to be some clients who prefer to have a different style, et cetera. But in spite of all of that, what we find is that collectors, even if they're going to ultimately end up changing the frame, having that frame there in the first place helps them catch the vision of what the artwork will look like in their space. And again, because of your style, I would suspect that you'll find that your collectors are going to want to have a more traditional ornate frame. Let's talk a little bit then about pricing. Tell us a little bit about how you arrived at your price points for the work, and are these the price points at which they're selling online?
Yeah. The big one, big size is selling that online in the gallery, online gallery. Yeah.
And so how did you determine how to price your work?
I search. I got before I list the price. I got first. I got research is the similar painting, similar style, and the similar size. How they determine the price.
Nope.
Yeah.
Hold on here. I just screwed us up a little bit. Let me get back. And has your pricing changed over the last several years? Has the value increased?
This the selling still life a little bit increase each year, but the portrait and the figure I never sell it because I keep it. It's bigger. It's bigger one. I keep it to take some exhibition, some show, and to take to keep it to take some like a competition something.
Sure.
Yeah, I didn't sell the figure yet.
The figurative work as this point.
Because I sell a lot of it's my the still life I painted short time, only 1 week, 2 week, 2 days, something like that. It's I keep the best one, no sale.
Yes,
So,
and that also I find to be somewhat more common early in an artist's career. That you'll have some pieces that you're very drawn to yourself and want to keep close. As time progresses and as work starts to sell, I believe you'll find that you become even more and more excited about having those pieces out in collectors' homes and being able to replace them with new pieces that you're creating. So it's certainly, though, I would think that you would find some galleries that would be very interested in showing both. We talked about this a few weeks ago as we were looking at figurative work, that there's some challenges involved in showing and selling figurative pieces, especially work like yours that is more clearly photorealistic. You're going to know, you're going to have a very distinctive person there. And, there will be some questions about, okay, who is that? Sometimes that work is easier to sell in commissioned portraits, but there is a market, and we talked about this previously as well, that there is a market of collectors out there who just love well executed interesting figurative work. And so I do believe that you could find a collector base and galleries for that kind of work as well. Let's open it up to some comments now. And I'll start with those of you who are here in the session. If you want to jump in and just give any feedback or questions, about the work that we've seen, anything that you see that strikes you very strongly, or suggestions that you might have, go ahead and hop in either physically with your hand up, or you can click on the hand icon. I'd love to get your feedback and talk a little bit more about the work. Let me go. I'll go to Terry first. Terry, let me go ahead and get us off screen sharing here. Good morning, Terry.
Hi. I'm curious. I just wrote to Jay to ask her how large of a body of work she had of the figurative paintings. There's such a strength in them. I mean, the still lifes go without saying, but I'm wondering if she has as large of a body of work of those so that they could be presented together in a large section.
Yeah, Jay, do you do more still lifes or more figurative pieces?
More half.
Half and half.
Yeah, half. Yeah. Because usually in the I took a morning class from 9 to 12:30. If I saw the model, I painting from life. The model pose I'm interesting. I painting the figure. The 2 weeks session. Yeah. And then sometimes I switch to the still life. It's half. Yeah.
I was wondering if you have a website. I couldn't find a website so that I could look at the bodies of work.
Could you go to the my Instagram or my
okay.
usually most my painting Instagram.
And I did include a link to the Instagram. If you scroll down on the broadcast page right below all of the artwork, you can see it. It's kind of hiding down there, but you'll see a link to the Instagram. And I would say, I would encourage everybody to hop over and take a look. You'll see these pieces and some additional pieces, very much in a similar vein to what we're seeing in the pieces that we've reviewed here. Anyone else want to hop in with comments? Let me go to Juanita. And Juanita, it's going to ask you to unmute there. Let's see if we've got you. Gotcha. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning. I have a question. It's mostly for you, Jason.
Sure.
If you have two different styles, for example, the portraits and then the still life, should you be thinking about presenting those in different venues, or, to say a gallery or online as one group?
Yeah, so it's going to depend a little bit on, as we've often discussed, inconsistency. Are they divergent enough that they would appeal to completely different sets of collectors? And if that is the case, then yes, it probably makes sense to segregate the two different bodies of work. And for some artists, it might not just be two; it might be two or three or four different bodies of work. But we want to, as much as possible, we want to avoid doing that. It just introduces so much complexity into your approach. Really into your approach in thinking about your work, in talking about your work and promoting yourself, and building relationships with galleries and collectors. The more variables, the more complexity you have, the more complicated your process becomes. And so in most cases, if there's a very strong divergence where I feel like it's very distinctive styles that would have a different appeal, my suggestion is set aside one of those bodies of work for now, which in some ways is what Jay is doing, in focusing on selling more of the still lives. But I'm going to suggest that because her work has a strong enough tie that she could sell both of them. But for an artist who has distinctive styles, I might set one aside and really focus on the one body of work where you feel like you would get the most traction, that you're, if you have a preference towards producing one versus the other, I'd put the emphasis there, build my following and my business around that body of work. You can continue producing the other body of work, but just kind of think of it as a side project for now. And then as you get success with the first body of work, then at that point, you could start thinking about going back and exploring, building a following for the other work. Now, I don't feel like that's as much a concern here with the work that we're seeing today, because again, the style and the vision of the work, the photorealism, the traditional approach, a very classical style of painting across both the still lifes and the figurative work. Some of the smaller pieces are a little looser and more expressive, but the other work, I feel, the stylistic elements really do tie it together and would allow you to show both of those bodies of work. And especially if you had, which right now you don't have frames, so there's a consistency there, but if you had consistent frames that we're using, so the presentation was very cohesive, I would have no problem creating a portfolio of that work together. Other comments or questions? Let me go then. I'm going to go to a couple of the comments. And again, these are just kind of more of a feedback. These were email comments that I received. This from R.L. Weber in Chicago. He says, not as expressionistic as I'd like to see. I'd like to see more of the hand in the artwork, but I can appreciate her style. And then he says, please ask her if she struggles at all about moving away from realism. So let me ask you that. Is it a decision you've made? I want my work to be very classical and very realistic, and that's a direction I'm moving in. Or do you think about moving to a looser, more expressionistic or impressionistic style?
I will keep what I love. I love classical realistic and but not just photo classical, very smoothly. I like strong power using brushstroke, like Rembrandt, Rembrandt, that kind, abstract. I think right now somebody call it abstract realism. I think when I'm in college, I'm painting a lot impressive painting, like landscape, something. But right now, I found my love and my passion. It's more, I want to keep going to do realism.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, what you're describing is exactly what I'm encouraging the artists that I'm working with and artists that I'm talking to do, and that is, don't spend too much time trying to second guess the art market, trying to second guess what might be interesting or popular to other people. Do what you're excited about doing, what you love doing, and being and are passionate about. Pursue that relentlessly, and then go and find the collectors out there who are interested in that work. And as I say, you have yet to hear me say in one of these broadcasts, "Oh, I'm sorry, what you're doing just cannot sell. It's impossible. No one will be interested in it." And I have high doubts that I will ever say that, because my observations are, and I spend a lot of my working life looking at art, visiting galleries, going to shows, and just seeing the amazing diversity of work. And to me, it's what makes the art market so exciting. And that is that you can go out and see just such a wide variety of different work. Now, we know that there are both collectors and artists who are passionately devoted to the work that they're interested in and can be somewhat critical of work that falls outside of that. And again, I would just encourage us to not put too much stock into what other people are saying and feeling, but instead to be trying to perfect the craft and again, pursuing what you're interested in. And I would love to hear from any of you in the panel. Concerns about that. Do any of you feel like you're doing work that is outside of maybe the mainstream or outside of what it seems like you're seeing other people collect? And does that have an impact on what you're creating? Anybody want to hop in with a comment on that? Are we brave enough to, I guess, is the question. Alexandra, I see you've got a comment. Let me get you unmuted here.
Yes, hello everybody. Many thanks for question. Greetings from The Hague, from the Netherlands.
Oh, good to have you. We're international this morning.
Yes, yes, I've been following your online critiques groups almost all the time. What you have here, almost 2 months. So thank you very much for that. Now, the second day I'm working in my studio, luckily, after the lockdown. So I'm very happy. Thank you very much for your words, because I do face sometimes the comments that why you're not doing realism, why you're doing abstract stuff. And then I'm saying that I've been there, I did a lot of realism, but I can do this, like let's say for commission, but for myself, it's not very much interesting for me. So it's really nice to hear that follow your heart, basically what you're saying, and just do what you're seeing. And people feel it, actually. They feel when it's passion is there. There's a saying, it's maybe crazy, but I'm mad about this. It makes me joy. People feel it and they just also want to have it.
Yeah, and I don't, as I talk about this, I don't mean to be too touchy-feely. I'm not saying that just do what you want, be happy, and it'll all work out. It's not like that. To be clear, it's be passionate what you're doing, and then be ready to work very hard to
exactly. I'm not meaning on just this emotion. I mean just really feeling the truth. This is exactly what I want to develop myself. I see the interest in this. Yes, it's actually it's very much conscious choice, of course.
Exactly.
Do what you love, and if you do follow your love, you will enjoy it, and it's creating. It feels so differently.
Yes, and that's a great point too. That there are multiple levels on which an artist can be successful. And really, that's also multiple levels on which a gallery can be successful. And sure, part of it is, okay, I'm connecting with collectors and generating sales. But there is also a big part of this that is about finding satisfaction in what you're doing. And that when you're doing that, then things start to fire on all cylinders and start to really generate some success. And like I say, it might take some work to find the right venues and the right buyers, but if you're excited and happy about what you're doing, you're going to be more motivated to do that. I do also think it's interesting that in the last comment, Alexandra, you've got exactly the opposite. You're doing abstract work, and people are saying, why don't you do more realism? And Jay is going to have exactly the opposite comments. You're doing realism. Why don't you become more abstract? And that is the dichotomy that we're always going to run into in the art market, is that there's just always somebody who knows a little bit better than we do, right? And is more than willing to tell us what's best for us going in the future. And you've got to develop a little bit of a defensive mechanism sometimes against that to know, no, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm excited about. Is it perfect? No, I've got to continue developing and creating, but I'm excited about the direction I'm moving in. Let me go to Catherine. I think I saw Catherine, you had a comment, and then I'll go back over to Terry.
Well, I just want to mention that I'm kind of looking for my niche. I've done some portraiture, I've done some animals and birds, and I really would like to do a little bit of abstract or non-objective, and I've tried that, and I know that those are very, very different. And I may at some point send a few more images to you if that's possible for consideration in this group, because I've done so much more work than I had when I first sent images.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll mention that to everybody. I'm slowly rolling out invitations for participation to have your work reviewed. Actually, I will take just a moment to talk about this. Initially, as we were doing this, I just was sending out to segments of Red.blog readers, asking them to submit. Over the next month or so, I'm going to update a little bit and give those of you who are actually physically participating in these sessions, either live or watching the recordings, an opportunity to submit your work. So you'll get a little bit of a preference rather than it just being a random group. So hopefully we can get participants more into the sessions. And of course, challenge with that is that we always get more and more participants, but we're going to work our way through until everybody gets a chance to have their work reviewed here. Let me go to Terry. Terry, you had an additional comment, and then we're probably going to need to wrap up.
Yeah, I have a different dilemma, but two separate subject matters. Folk art, I think I started to call it narrative art, but then I found that people don't know what that is. And it's a storytelling art. It's two-dimensional. And then I love the impressionistic landscapes from the area we live in, and I'm a plein air painter, and the passions for each are equal. The mood is what determines which one I'm working on.
Yeah.
They sell equally well. But I don't show them in the same venue.
Yeah. And do you find, do you have any of your followers who have bought both? Who
I do.
have both of the styles?
I do. They'll come after a landscape and end up, if I'm having open studios at my home, they'll come after a landscape and go, oh, but I think I'd like the folk art better, and vice versa.
Yeah. So, you know, certainly there are opportunities to do that. And, you know, I should put a big caveat on anything that we talk about here, that the rules that I'm giving you are made to be broken, and there are going to be exceptions where an artist says, hey, I'm doing two things and I'm excited about both of them. But again, my suggestion just is, from a pragmatic standpoint, if you're saying, okay, I'm ready to take my my art business, you know, again, setting that aside, talking, you know, as something separate from my passion for creating my art, but as I'm focusing on my art business, I'm ready to take that to the next level and really step up my sales, increase the value of my artwork, and get a stronger following. When we're in that phase, then my suggestion is to focus all of your efforts on one or the other styles for a time while you're building a following for that work. And then, like I say, we can step back and do it. And you're going to have a little bit harder time, Terry, deciding, okay, which is the one body of work that I'm going to put more of that focus on, because I'm so excited about both of them. And maybe you flip a coin and come up with one of them and push forward with that. Jay, we'll give you the last word.
Oh, well, thank you, everybody. I'm so excited to hear you're creating my my painting. It's very valuable for me, and your Jason, is your available. Very help me the advice, and
it's my pleasure. And
yeah, the last thing you said, yeah, I'm in their period. I want, that's why I want to keep my portfolio the best. I think I love one, and I want to keep going next step to reach the gallery. It's for my future art business. It's thank you for everybody.
and thank you. And I would encourage you, and I would encourage all of us to kind of be thinking in that mode of, okay, what's my next step? I'm creating my body of work. I'm creating some consistency. I want to be thinking about, okay, what is my portfolio going to look like? You know, what is the body of work in that portfolio going to look like? And how can I be preparing to get out and show that work to galleries and start building that that collector base for my work? Again, Jay, thank you very much for joining us this morning, letting us look at your work and seeing work in a very different style from art that we've been reviewing in past sessions. Thanks to everyone for joining us and for your comments and feedback. Next week's session is going to be an open Ask Me Anything session. So it can be a continuation of the conversation we've had today or in past weeks, or specific questions that you have about your work, or your art marketing and business. So keep an eye out for an email on Monday inviting you to submit questions for that session. And we'll be back here next Wednesday. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Take care. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.